Okay.
Alright. Harapan mo lang din ako. Vlogger na talaga ako. Okay, sige. Alright, kamusta po, Yorme? Good to see you.
Ay, okay naman. Awa ng Diyos. Nakakaraos naman.
You lost weight ba o hindi? Hindi ko
konti. Hindi ko masabi. Minsan mababa, minsan mataas eh. But depende kasi pagka umiikot ka, siyempre people will prepare food and just try to be, accommodating as much as possible. Kasi yung preparation is already an act of kindness. So, you return the favor by eating the meal. Kaya, no, from one place to another. Kasi ako, sinusuyod ko talaga yung yung mga places. As I promised in last October that we'll go to as many places as possible to reach every single inch, meter, kilometers, 10, 20, 50, 100, 1,000, 10,000 people. As many as possible. Nagmi-meter kami. Madami-dami, nagulat nga kami. In a matter of, 2 months?
Grabe.
Oh, grabe.
Kayo bang pinakamaraming...
I don't know.
Just checking. Bumalik kayo ulit sa Cebu, no?
Yes.
Matter of 6 weeks or something like that?
3 times already. One, yung mga events. And second was because of the sunog, yung mambaling. Then recently, it's a 3-day leg in Cebu. And we'll be back again.
What is it all about? Is it because Cebu is kind of like a swing state? May pagka-Florida ba ang Cebu na if you get...
Well, Cebu, basically, with regard to mathematics of politics, is a very strategic and important province in this campaign. Kasi darating ang oras, sisikip yung mga numero. So yung mga, well, if I may put that in right perspective, swing state.
Pagka-Florida ang Cebu yata, di ba? Yung pabalik-balik Sunshine City, di ba?
Ang maganda kasi sa Cebu, it's an island. It's like Metro Manila per se, but Metro Manila kasi may adjacent provinces. So the volume of Metro Manila is not that far from the volume of Cebu. So malaking bagay in terms of katulad namin na medyo limited ang resources. So we are trying to maximize time and resources on a particular geography.
Not to preempt naman, Yorme, but anong feel mo? Do you think you're in a good position to get the endorsement of One Cebu, or does it even matter?
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. Kailangan ko ng lahat ng uri ng tulong. That includes the president, other parties, volunteers, organization, at higit sa lahat, siyempre yung mga taong bayan. So, we're really trying to talk to yung mga ordinaryong tao, then organisasyon, and of course the political organization, as many as possible. If we can, at least persuade them to support us, that's good for any candidate, especially in my case, solo katawan. Oh. Wala akong tatay na presidente. In a way, in fact, I even practice it. I respect their views and all other things, no? But on a personal level, ayoko talaga. Gusto ko, ako lang, tapos pagtapos ko, kung talaga naging mabuti ka sa kapwa mo, people will be reminded of what you have done for your fellow men. Then, kung nakikita naman nila yung anak mo naging mabuti rin, o nagsikap din, baka. But not all at the same time. Sa akin, iba lang yung aking.
Yorme, just a question on this. No? I mean, this is something that many people are trying to wrap their head around, both internationally and domestically. Yung issue na just parang few months ago, you were being considered as the unity opposition candidate, no? And many people who are not very happy with the status quo, you're very, very excited with the potential run by you for the presidency. But now, more recently, you've been positioning yourself potentially as the administration bet and being endorsed by the president. How do you explain to people who are trying to wrap their head around this? How did this transition happen?
When I say unity and healing, is unity about commonality on how to address existing challenges sa bansa. So, I can work with anybody, whether dilaw ka, o pula ka, o administrasyon ka, o opposition ka. We must work together because there's challenge. No, that's what you call the unity and healing. Right. It's about the problem. It's about politics or being administration or opposition. It's always about the situation. How can we work together? We may disagree with some political views or ideology, but first things first, paano natin itatawid yung tao? Right. Paano natin iraraos yung tao? Paano maiibsan yung suliranin ng tao in terms of what? Inflation, in terms of cost of living, yung panatag, yung damdamin niya na, tapos na ba COVID? May COVID ba? Kaya ba namin? May gamot ba kami? May trabaho ba kami? Bukas pa ba negosyo ko? Kaya ko bang isurvive yung negosyo ko? Kasi government is always about the people. Right. It's not about us. It's not about us being unified at para manalo lang sa eleksyon. Because that's politics. While it is true that I live in politics, I live in that kind of environment, but dapat secondary in decision making lang yun. Ang primary decision making is how can we resolve this now? Well, at the end of the day, you must win, and you have to do the second part of it. No, but
politics. Dapat may consideration ka pa rin ng ganun.
You have to. You really have to. As you, with regard to your question, as you can see, sometimes you have to bend a little to get more support, because it's always about winning. You cannot change things with outside the system. You must be part of the system so that you can introduce changes or maybe directions or your aspirations for your people or for your country, your dreams and things that you can share based on practice, based on what you have done in the past. Na baka naman na effective. It may be an old school way, portion of it, or maybe a new way because of available science in governance, or maybe literally technology that can be adapted in government.
You have a very interesting parang yung campaign and team mo, which is like they're stalwarts of Duterte administration, some of them, right? I mean,
and some of them are also from the other side.
And exactly, then you have Action Democratico, very progressive party, Raul Roco's legacy. You have Samira Gotok, who formerly ran under the Liberal Party coalition in 2019. So it's a very interesting combination of people from across the political spectrum.
Also some portion of Dilawans who are...
Right. So is this was this spontaneous, or was this kind of a kind of deliberate strategy on your part to make sure meron kang a team that really reflects the full spectrum of political views and all?
It came naturally. Parang siguro they believe on what I'm saying. They believe on what I have done, or maybe they believe on the goals. And giving importance on problem at hand. Kumbaga, you need that, maybe, I don't know, ayoko silang pangunahan, you need somebody who really can address the problem. And if they see it in me, they are welcome to help me. And I don't ask them kung dilaw sila, pula sila, no. In fact, some of them disagrees on some points, and which I respect, because this is democracy. But at the end of the day, kaninang umaga sumikat ang araw. Sigurado ako pagdating ng dapit hapon lulubog to. So decision should be made. Ayoko kasi yung yung too much analysis. Things must be addressed swiftly. That's why even the campaign, as you can see, bilis kilo. So we have to bilisan natin. Hindi tayo pwede mamuhay ng arguments or cancel culture dahil ayaw sa atin, o galit tayo dyan kasi sinuportaan ito. Hindi po pwede yun ngayon eh. Right. Hindi, it may be ideal in Disneyland, no, or maybe in Wonderland, no, but this is real life, this is real situation, and there's real threat.
So you're saying essentially purity doesn't win you office?
I think yung purity will never work
in real politics,
in real world. In Disneyland, yes. It's all.
But in Disneyland,
diba? Kumbaga, if you live in Wonderland, You can create your environment, you can create your own world. But this is the real world. We have to deal with the pandemic. We have to deal with basic goods, the price of basic goods. We have to deal with an archipelagic country like us. And at the same manner, we have to deal with the world. Ito yung reality. And you cannot do that on the basis of what you only believe. Kumbaga, ikaw lang yung parang holier than thou o ikaw lang yung may monopoly ng knowledge. Now, if that is the case, then you'll be left behind. You cannot address things because you need a lot of hand to work on to the problem. I mean, sa problema ng buhay ng tao, kailangan mo ng katulong. And two heads are better than one. I always believe in collective ideas. But decisions should be made. Directions should be created. Di ba? Hindi po pwedeng, teka muna, hindi ko gusto yan. Kasi binentahan yan yung kalaban ko, kaya ka-canceling ko na order ko dyan. O hindi, kasi ganito yan, kaya ayoko na sa kanya. No, you cannot do that. You cannot do that in governance. Unless you want to be an authoritarian o anong tawag dyan, diktator. Ako hindi. I listen if you make sense.
Your party, Action Democratic, actually released a statement saying that we're not an opposition party, we're a centrist party.
As much as possible.
May you define to us, what do you mean by centrist party? What does it mean?
Because centrist is people-based decision-making. So what is good for you as a citizen? That should matter. When I was asked many times about ICC, about the Hague ruling, about MDT, sabi ko, if I'm going to sign an agreement or partnership with the world, simple lang una kong tanong, what is it for us? I'd rather be Lee Kuan Yew on that particular moment in a given situation. Anong kapakinabangan ng bansa namin? Anong kapakinabangan ng mga kababayan ko? Kasi yun yung people-centered person. So, kapag kumakabig ka ng husto, masyado kang kaliwa, masyado kang kanan, you are only favoring politicians. You are only favoring organization. While it is true that you need them, for them to join and punta sa direksyon na gusto mo, but it should not pollute, cloud your eyes of these shenanigans. Kailangan nakapokus. So, sa akin ganon. Yun ang tingin kung kung sa tao tayo, then anong commonality muna natin. Yung disagreement natin can be done later on. Let's prove ourselves first, being together in one table, confronting the problem. So, ganon, para may resulta.
Aspiration or role models of other candidates around the world who successfully tried to pull off a centrist. Because the problem is in the Philippines, we had someone who tried to pull this off. I would definitely say Senator Grace Poe was the kind of the centrist candidate in 2016. For a combination of reasons, it didn't work. The person who won was President Duterte with conviction politics. You may agree or disagree with him, but he had conviction politics.
Conviction is based on situation. When I was asked about WPS, very clear, we'll insist on the Hague ruling. We'll be fearless dealing with it, and whatever is left will be protected, and we must fish.
So
because
you were talking about finding a common ground, a kind of a middle course on
yes,
issues.
but decisions should be made, or convictions should be, shown to the world. When I say, if you enter into our water, if you are a foreign ship without the authority of the country or Philippines, will make your ship a decoration underneath. That is a literal thing will happen to any country. It is not a particular country because it's about our country, about our sovereignty. Yes, you can bully us because you're superpower, but in a civilized world, in a civilized time, we must be guided by law and order. And we'll make sure that we implement our own laws in our own land. And when I say we'll be fair in dealing with our trade, because we need to trade with China, America, the region, and the world. No, will be fair. When I say fair, hindi yung katulad nung, for example, merong isang, I hope hindi kagad maipasa yun, ano? I hope abutan ko. For example, may isang agreement ng isang bansa, sabi niya, you can export to us. And we can, you can import from us. So, the problem is, we can import, but we cannot export because we don't have products to export. So it's a one-way, exactly. I mean, logically, ang yayabang nila na ooperan tayo na mag-export, wala naman tayong i-export. Second, the problem with those agreement is the qualitative. The quantitative is okay lagi. Sige, ilang volume. Pero pag pinadadala na natin sila, bigla nagkakasakit yung banana natin. Now, I'll do the same thing. Magkakasakit din yung bigas ninyo. Di ba? I mean, the sauce for the gander, it has to be that way because a relationship is mutual. Correct. Hindi dapat one way. So, yun yung sinasabi ko sa iyo that sometimes yung conviction mo maliwanag yon. Pero sa particular na sitwasyon.
Yung tactics.
Oo.
It's a strategy, but the tactics are adjustable.
Yes, kasi that's I don't know. I hope I'm correct in understanding thoughts and minds of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew when he had that opportunity to deal with other countries on how he utilized their weakness but their importance at the same time. Utilizing their weakness in their advantage. Yes, may hina kami, but kailangan nyo kami. Right. So then it became a financial and transportation hub. And after a while, yung internal social problems niya, inaddress niya, yung external niya, successful siya, it benefited yung benepisyo noong internal problem solving approach niya sa bansa, then the rest is history. So it's always about Singapore. And when I see him, when I try to understand Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, okay ito siya, okay, makikipag-usap ako sa iyo, pero anong pakinabang naman bilang Singaporean? And I think that's the way it should be. So
a results-oriented approach.
Of course, results matter to me, as you can see in the pandemic approach of the City of Manila. Open policy. Why? Because it's a universal problem. We vaccinate each and every person, each and every human being that goes in and out of the city, which, well, data will show, and we prepare. So, results-oriented talaga.
Yes. So what are going to be the differences or continuities under your administration compared to status quo when it comes to China and the South China Sea?
Whatever is there, it should be stopped. Stop tayo. We expose ourselves in that situation. Pinalataga mo ng semento dati bunker lang sila doon you have an opportunity during their time. Not even this administration, during their time. Dati parang mga yung bahay sa Tausug, mga stilt lang yan sila. Now it's there. Okay, don't grow. We'll talk to you later about it because I think Hague ruling favors us or the country. Then don't go further, and that's our job to protect whatever is left. Then where can I meet you? Halfway. Because food security is number one threat to national security. And how come I import fish and I am an archipelagic country? I'm surrounded by water. Water is full of resources. And one of those is food. Then we fish. You fish, I fish. We fish together in harmony. So, the fishers folks will be protected. Filipinos will gain back their sense of pride that it's ours. So, I think it's achievable. When you try to make sense with people or even countries for that matter, nobody.
What about our alliances, Yorme? Yung alliansa natin sa Amerika, yung mga Hapon, mga Australian, yung mga traditional allies natin. Anong stance?
I hope they will come. I hope. Not only come. I hope their presence should be made available in our country. Sometimes, sabi ko nga nung araw, sabi ko, yung maganda yung pagiging nasyonalismo maganda talaga yun Kaya alam, minsan napuput into wrong place naalala ko tuloy si General Luna, bayan o sarili? It should be bayan. Anyway, basta tayo, we will continue to recognize treaties, agreements, and relationship with other countries outside of China. And they have to fulfill their obligations also. Because we are an ally country. We have some obligations.
So, mutual defense treaty, mahalaga ito.
Mahalaga yun. Mahalaga sa atin yun.
Yes.
In fact, I think yan na lang ang hurdle sa isang bansa to go all the way. And I think we have to reinforce, re-strengthen, and revive some harmonious relationship, not only with our old allies, but if we can create more alliances, whether it is through trade or interest or geography, you make anything under the sun that it creates security for our country, because we cannot just spend so much money in reinforcing our military capabilities at the expense on our own land, at the expense of social services. We need to really address social services and hindi pa natin na-reach yung level na we can spare X amount comfortably because our social services are being provided.
May trade-off yan.
May trade-off yun. So, it's a balance. So, katulad ko nga sabi ko sa'yo, people-oriented ako. So, it's more on MBN. It's more on HDI. Human Development Index. Doon nakapokus. We invest to the people, let them grow naturally as we progress. Then, ano sabi ni Lincoln? The economy is stupid. Ano ba yun? Naalala ko yun.
The economy is stupid.
It will naturally grow.
May sinabi kayo kasi because I saw a lot in the media said na parang Mayor of Manila supports joint development or research sharing with China. But from what I heard, you said actually service contract, which is quite different because yun yung parang sa malampay kung saan, because in a service contract, they should recognize our sovereignty. In a joint development, that's no longer the case. Can you clarify that? Because
Friends, with us dealing with Corporation X, hosted by America, France, for that matter, and with China now. If it is a joint development, tayo makikinabang, bakit hindi? Ginagawa nga natin yan sa ibang bansa. Di ba? So as long as we get ample, proper share. And now, if that is the case, then it recognizes also some level of ownership. It's a tricky thing.
Sovereignty kasi yung mahalaga dyan.
Yeah, it's sovereign. That's why when you try to enter into an agreement to hanguin yung ating yaman bilang bansa, and because we don't have capabilities to spend or invest on it, then we invite the world to come and join us. For the people of this country, our fellow men, to gain from it. In fact, meron na nga akong plan. Kung ano makuha akong langis dyan, yung 20% yan, ibebenta ko sa merkado. Yung most of it, dadaling ko sa atin ang magmura kuryente. I mean, if you have it on your hand, you can do a lot of things. But it's always about business. It's not about our sovereignty. Very clear yun. Atin yan, you come and let's do business. It's about trade. It's about economy. It has nothing to do with our sovereignty because maliwanag sa utak natin, it's ours.
So no compromise.
No.
It's just a profit sharing issue.
It's all about business.
Right. So very clear tayo kasi the strict definition of joint development is that tatanggapin mo na it's a contested sovereignty issue. So service contract is
service. It's more on okay, meron kami ditong resources pero wala kaming kakayanan. Can you come?
Right. But you recognize our sovereignty.
Of course, the mere fact that you come and entered into an agreement with us, you recognize. If not, you have the capability, the money and capability in the science, engineering. Why not do it on your own?
Right.
Why not? Why enter into a contract with Philippine government if you feel that you own it? Now, if they agree on that, then I'll use again the word stop. You recognize our authority over the piece of land, over the piece of air, the piece of, the space, the piece of water. May technical repercussions sa kanila. Sabi ko sa'yo, kapag set yung mind mo, nobody can fool you. Alam mo kagad.
The other question I want to ask is dun sa issue ng ICC. Okay. So you made some waves by making certain comments on ICC, and which is related sa issue ng drug war. Because ang gusto siguro maintindihan ng tao is what is talaga yung stance sa drug war? What will continue, what will not continue?
Right. Drugs is the enemy of the state and the society. It destroys society. In our time, it is really not acceptable. So walang elbow room to them. Zero tolerance. But there are so many ways to address it. The way I know it in the street. And modesty aside, you can see it naman in Manila. We apprehend them. We continue to believe in our system. We send them to the court and let the court decide who's guilty or not. For the meantime, I'll get all the drugs that are available in the streets. I'll apprehend people who are involved with it, whether they are the son of this, the son of that, or whoever they are. John Doe and Mary. The sauce for the gander is the sauce for the goose. Kumbaga, you have to be certain with your rules.
So due process and human rights.
It's there. That's why the mere
because
the mere fact.
Issue, diba?
Yeah, the mere fact. That's why I don't like. Hindi mo napansin. Ayoko ng death penalty. Yeah, hindi mo napansin. I am pro-choice. Right. Di ba? Hindi ako pro-life o yung pro-life na the way they define it. Or abortion, I'm pro-choice. Ibig sabihin, pag may buhay na, proteksyonan na natin. Now, yung mga nagkasala, teka, tama ba yung justice system natin? Baka naman may naisasalang tayong inosente. That's why I continue to recognize our judicial system. Diyan ka. Ang trabaho ko, kunin kayo lahat ng mga tolongges, mga kriminal, kasi to make you feel safe. And there are orders and certainty with our rules. Then let another part of government do their job. And we, as citizens, must continue to believe in that system. It may not be perfect system, but we must continue to believe in that system. And I do believe.
The reality is that, of course, the reality is that may mga problema sa ating justice system, or some would say injustice. Ano yung policy niyo para ayusin yan? Kasi sobrang single judge, 644 cases, 400% overcapacity sa mga prisons natin, bilibid nga 2,000%. Do you have a policy to deal with that? Kasi kapos yung...
It's high time for us to try to meet halfway the judicial system, judicial leadership on how are we going to develop, how I'm going to make it faster for 3, 5 years, 10 years. Yes. People are in jail because the cases filed against him is non-bailable, but only to find out na he's not guilty of anything. It's sad, if I remember it right, sabi nga nung isang professor ko, sabi, mas maigi nang magkamali tayo makapagpalaya ng 79 na tao na may kasalanan dahil tayo'y nagkamali, kaysa magkamali tayo sa isang taong walang kasalanan pero napakulong natin. Isang inosenteng tao. And I think what the judicial system needs is the support of the chief executive.
Right.
I think. So, they know better than me on how to
specifics.
The specifics of it. And as I have said, I continue to believe in them. And then we will listen and we'll try to support them in our own little way in the executive branch of government. Right. Kasi yun talaga ang way to create certainties. And swift justice. Right. Swift, fair, humane, and proper. I think any judge, for that matter, would always wish that way. Kaya lang, kung tambakan mo nga naman siya ng tambakan ng kaso at iilan lang sila, at lalo dito sa Maynila, ang liliit ng aming wala nga kaming justice hall, di ba? Ang liliit ng mga korte, things must be addressed.
So that's why sinasabi niya na the ICC can wait because we rather have our domestic judicial institutions take care of it, right?
I think
Yun yung thread ng argument.
kung gusto ng ICC, dahil wala naman ako tatago sa kanila, you come. Or European Union, you come. I will welcome them. Kapag wala ka naman ikinukubli, wala ka naman dapat ipangamba. Kung alam mo naman sa tingin mo, fix yung direction. Ibig sabihin, maliwanag, nandiyan dyan, establish. Then those who will cross that line will be out of job the very next day. Those who will abuse. The mere fact that you tolerate it, dalawang bagay lang yan. Tanga ka o kasapakat ka. I mean, you're part of it. Totoo naman yeah. Kasi it's either you don't believe that there is a problem, so ang katangahan ng tawag doon. Di ba? Pero kung pinapayagan mo, parte ka na noong problema. So, I don't want to be in the latter or any of those two. No, that's why I try to confront it and learn, sit down, listen, then act on the matter. Introduce.
And what about working with our international partners? Kasi European Union, they want to help in terms of judicial reform, capacity building.
Thank you very much. They will come for help. And that's what I've been saying since about 10 minutes ago. That's what I've been saying. Any help will do. Whether it is military, whether it is trade, whether it is security, whether, at the very least, impression. The Philippine is now certain and they are predictable and so on. We do business with them. So that's what we want. We want more business, more jobs.
So ito yung last question ko, Yorme, no? Nasa gitna tayo ng pandemya, napaka-grabe yung 5 quarters of recession, baka late next year pa tayo magkaroon ng full recovery from the pandemic. So the economy is a big issue. Maraming Pilipino na walang trabaho, nagkakaroon ng insecurities among others. Ikaw, base doon sa nagawa mo dito sa Manila at base doon sa mga pinag-aralan mo around the world, what is your plan to get the Philippines back on its foot and get it running, no? And to make up for all of this lost time?
Before going to the bigger country's economy, it's more on the microeconomic situation of every family. And in our case, in the city of Manila, there's a part of what we call Code M, contain, delay. The M is the mitigate. The mitigation of socio-economic impact of this pandemic sa buhay ng tao. So that's why, as you heard about 2 months ago, and we've been telling the people, and tax cuts that we're going to introduce is cushioning whatever hardship that we're, magpaparaya lang ba yung gobyerno? Taxes is lifeblood ng gobyerno yan for purposes of services. But there are things also na maliliit na bawas, pero high impact kasi nagti-trickle down yung epekto. So I went to the tax cuts of petroleum products and the electricity costs. Para yun, initially, mararamdaman kagad ng tao, okay, may gobyerno na. Dininig na ako ng gobyerno. So naibsan ako ng konti sa suliranin ko. But looking at the bigger picture, and I think I hope there are some economists who are watching this would agree with me that for us to be competitive again in the region, we have to address our electricity costs.
Utility costs. Grabe yun sa investment.
The FDI of the country is about $4 billion, if I'm not mistaken. Our neighboring country is about 13, 20, 33 billion dollars. No? So what more we can do if we become competitive in terms of cost of productions, cost of creating plants or pabrika or facility here. Sa totoo, may isang asset na nga tayo lengguwahe. We can easily adapt. We can speak our second language is English, di ba? So, ang dali natin mag-adapt. So, that's a competitive edge. no? Then mabait tayo as neighbor. As yung, oy, may pabrika diyan. Mano tayo? Hospitable ba tawag doon? Oh. Then andali natin matuto. Andali natin mag-adjust. So, ang dami nating competitive edge, but they will never go to us. One, you have to be certain with your rules. Two, you have to be predictable. Three, what is it for them to come to our country? In terms of, business-wise. Am I going to produce cheaper costs? Am I going to get it in a cheaper way? Then, sa akin, yung principle of delayed gratification. Magpaparaya tayo, pasok kayo dito, mura kami, pero if I can create jobs, now I'm creating the consumer ability to buy, acquire, because pag may trabaho ang tao, may pera, the purchasing power will be higher, then the evolution, yung ikot ng pera, bibilis. Then alam mo na ang ending nun. Uuwi rin sa gobyerno yun dahil lahat halos yun may buwis.
May multiplier effect.
Yes. But for the meantime, panatag yung tao mo. May trabaho. Kapag may trabaho ang tao, nag-aral yung anak niya, may ospital siya matatakbuhan. You know? Panatag ang pamumuhay. Pag panatag ang pamumuhay, malaking cost na ginagastos natin sa peace and order mawawala. Kasi ang isang taong naghahanap, I grew up in the street. Always remember this. I grew up in the street. Kapag may hanap buhay ang tao, hindi mamimperwisyo ng kapwa niya. Hindi talaga batugan lang yung hold-upper na naging habit niya na mang-hold up o mamerwisyo ng kapwa niya. Pero a normal person in his right mind, whether educated or uneducated like me, no, hindi kami nag-aral nung araw, ang gusto lang namin, may trabaho kami, may chicha kami. Tapos tulog kami, panatag kami, hindi kami ma-hold up. Go to school, and so on and so forth. So, pag yun na-address mo because of those simple financial engineering, o yung konting tweak, then naturally we will survive. Now, I think it's high time also to open some rules. Tingnan mo, sino magtitiwala sa atin? Totoo namang niloloko na, alam naman natin nangyayari ito. Sino maniniwala sa atin na you cannot own X percentage, comfortable X percentage ownership to the company because it is prohibited by our law. But only to find out, they name it to some Filipinos, and later on, it was taken away from them. Who will, people talk.
So you want amendments to sa ating saligang batas para magkaroon ng more competitiveness sa ating economy?
That's why we elect congressmen, we elect senators in a democratic form. No? We continue to elect legislatures so that it will adhere or will address to the demand of time. It changes the course of law, no? Yung dahil may bagong demand, no? Before, how can you if there is no literal. Kung walang mambabatas, paano tayo mag-uusap sa telepono ng wireless? Right. But the law allows it. It was introduced, blah 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 blah. Then I think it's high time also. Upuan nga natin to. Paano natin sila invite? Anong cause and effect nito? So, hindi po pwedeng matutulog tayo at mamumuhay tayo 50 years ago, 30 years ago, o 40 years ago na wala namang naipoproduce na maayos. Now, if it's producing anything good, okay, let's stay that way. If not, time to wake up. Hello, hoy, gising na tayo. Huwag na tayo mamuhay doon sa yung lalaban. Real world to.
Hindi lang puso, dapat may diskarte.
Kailangan maabilidad ka sa buhay. And I think we've seen it with people who were very successful in life in their particular field of undertaking or even business. Ang ginamit nila abilidad because they adopt. And we should adapt also to the changing time and challenges. There are things that we need to revisit. No. So, sa akin, the next 2 years ng administrasyon, if given a chance, life and livelihood. Doon lang muna ako. In the next first 2 years. Then we'll continue whatever Duterte created about the build. Oh, bakit? Bayad. Yeah, ano na yan, bayad na ng buwis ng tao yun, nandiyan na yun eh. And if we wanted to create certainty with continuity in terms of private sector coming in the country, doing business, there is a level of continuity. And that's what you call continuity. Well, that's certain. Good continuity. O kasi certainty.
Right.
No, tas predictable na tayo. So business will come and hopefully the perception in the world masarap ulit magnegosyo sa Pilipinas and it's cheaper to go in the country to invest and so on and so forth. So kailangan lang natin maging in a way parang liberal in the interpretations of our rules and openness in such a way that okay, bakit nga ba nagtatagumpay itong mga bansang tong dating mahigpit? Sobrang mahal nila. Are we going to sell our soul as a country, as Filipinos? Or are we just taking opportunity that are available and it was, napupunta sa mga kapitbahay natin na imbes na sa atin?
So, more adaptive, dynamic ang approach. Including, so bukas kayo, you're meant to possible change in economy?
Anything I'm open. Anything that will create growth to every Filipinos, I'm for it. Anything that will create growth economically for the country, I'm for it. Anything that will continue and sustain the sovereignty of our country in the eyes of the world, I'm for it. Anything that we can build together in the world, with the world, I'm for it. Anything that is growth, I'm always into it. Doon ako, it's always about the growth. It's always about results. It's always about ano ang kapakinabangan natin bilang Pilipino at bilang bansa. Hindi na to yung panahon na hinihimod-himod lang natin yung mga puwet ng ibang banyaga at napapagahasa tayo.
Subservient lang tayo.
I think it's high time to use our geographical location in our advantage.
Leverage that.
Exact. That's the exact word. Thank you for helping me the word, finding the leverage.
Leveraging our geography and other advantages.
Exactly. And we know for a fact that it's nowadays with the situation, coming from there and coming from here, we are here and they're there. So, I mean, technically speaking, I don't have to be, don't have the PhD in geopolitics. Sometimes common sense is very common. Hindi available sa Mercury drug. Sad to say, but
parang mas
it's there.
matandal ka sa akin, Isko. Ako expect na 5 minutes lang. Parang tagal na to. Okay. You remind me of myself. Okay. Just last point. Bakit dapat ikaw ang botohin ng tao? Why do you believe that you should be the next commander-in-chief and the chief executive of the country, the democratic elected leader? Anong meron ka sa experience mo, sa vision mo, sa kakayahan mo na makes you better than all other candidates?
Well,
modesty aside talaga at this point. Talaga. All in.
Maybe sila may experience. May experience naman sila. In fairness to them, no? It's just that when you look at our demographics, malaking porsyento nun is where I used to live. So I fully understand the situation.
On the ground knowledge talaga.
Well, on how, di ba, okay, let's go now first to the basic principle of governance. Basic principle, government is for the people. I mean, that's the purpose when Julius Caesar or our forefathers, mga ninuno natin, di ba? It's always about the people. Now, if it is about the people, how can you relate when you are in a table full of technocrats, full of good people in their respective field, and how can you create a policy that surgically addresses that particular problem or social problem if you don't know? you yourself, that's a real situation. So, ito ba adhesive ba? Ito ba ay kapakipakinabang itong sinasabi sa yung nagpapaalala sa iyo ng mga scientifico? Now, kung kapakipakinabang, it's easy for you to decide. And the problem with people with I have nothing against with people na yumabong, umunlad, good for them. I'm happy for them. But those sons and daughters who will just assume or presume magaling kasi yung tatay niya is ganito, at alam naman natin na teka, where were you when we needed you most? Scary part sa akin yun. And especially, anong ambag mo? And the other one is, kung wala ka nang nasa isip mo kundi mag-oppose, I don't think we need you. Because what we need, this is my personal point, what we need as Filipinos is, paano ka magpa-participate? Despite some ideological reasoning, hindi ka sakto doon sa tao na yun. But, being part of the government, you must work together. Ayan is a testament and test of leadership. Now, if I don't see that to you, sorry, hindi mo kami kayang pamahalaan kasi ikaw, sumama ka sa gobyerno para paglingkuran yung partido mo. You're serving your party. So, nawala na yung basic principle ng gobyerno, serving the people. So, you're not for it. Now, in my case, I always try to listen. Try to listen carefully. Try to learn as much as possible, as soon as possible. Then, pag decision making na, I make sure nakapakinabangan mo. And that's what we've been doing in Manila, in a very chaotic city before I became a physical impression, perception. Then we became competitive in a short period of time. While competitive in the country, which is records will show, we became competitive in the world. Records will show. Then pandemic, look at pandemic approach namin. We continue to survive people by being ahead of our capacity based on infection. Kasi yun ang naging approach namin. Always ahead. Project that worse will come. If not, good for us.
Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Yeah.
Then we continue to develop the city. Then we continue to invest to our people in terms of social development. Yung physical and social development. So, for 23 years, sa awa naman ng Diyos, siguro may offer naman akong maayos-ayos sa tao. Sa tao. May awa ang Diyos. That's why when I said, anong ginawa sa Maynila gagawin ko sa buong bansa? More than the hospital, more than the school, more than the housing. It's more on the principle of governance wherein gobyernong may tenga, hindi bingi, hindi bungol, mainam, masinop, at episyente. How can you be efficient with limited resources, with so much task at hand? Importante yun kasi yung gastos ng gobyerno, yung tosgas ng gobyerno, limited. But how can you make it more surgical in terms of hindi shotgun lang na pakain tayo rito, picture taking, o yan na, kumain na kayo, ginawa ko na trabaho ko. O magpadala kayo ng bigas dito, bigay natin dito sa isang group na to, may picture taking, okay na tayo, ito na ginawa namin. No. That's what you call PR. That's what you call mema. Mema gawa lang. But it defines you on your character and na minsan walang masamang umatras on a particular issue because you believe tama siya eh. Hindi swak yung naisip ko. Then I'll join. Mali siya eh. Kasi yung ginawa niya, hindi talaga, bagay. Then you stand out to be recognized. You make a point. I'll tell you one thing, di ba kami ni Pangulo, marami akong sinuportahan sa kanya. At marami rin akong dinisagreehan. Like for example, facial. Now, it became a national policy na it's useless. But it took time. But you have to be consistent. You have to be persistent on something that are hindi naman beneficial sa tao. So, when you see those things, it defines leadership. I don't know, modest aside, ako naman wala naman akong tinago sa tao. You'll see me pag galit ako, you see me. Pag may gusto kong i-point out, you'll see me. Pag meron akong binibigay na kredito, you'll see me. Little success, you'll see it. With our failures, you'll see it. Medyo open eh. Kumbaga, wala ako ikukubli sa inyo eh. Walang pretension. Hindi na kailangan ng mga kung ano-ano para i-PR ka or i-define ka, paano maging perfect candidate. No.
Hindi choreograph.
Hindi choreograph. It's more on what we can do together. So, yun lang siguro ang difference.
Last point, how important is meritocracy to you? Yung mga tao sa administrasyon mo.
Good question. Ito siyasatin mo Promise. Tingnan mo kung may katotohanan ba sa likod ng salitang ito. Dito, yung mga department head ko, most of them did not vote for me. Most of them are the person or political leaders of my opponent. Pero alam mo, sa tagal ko sa service, sa city, kinuha ko yung mga magagaling nilang tao. Because based on merit, magaling. O, di kunin mo. Tapos bibigyan mo ng guidance. Yun yung sinasabi nga, direction. Dito tayo, Ito direction natin. And it's very important. And I do believe it's high time for the younger individuals to participate in governance. Not only in the elective office, even in bureaus, department. They have to participate because about, I think, 43% or 40% is bata. Para medyo tumagos naman ng konti pag gumagawa ng polisiya. Medyo, bagay ito sa demografiya o sa constituency mo and so on and so.
Best, brightest and youngest, may pagkaganon yung admin nyo. Kasi
I hope so.
Recently.
I hope so. But, with due respect with our elders, we'll continue to engage them to squeeze some opportunity based on their experience. Wisdom. Ako, isang bonus ko yan na pinagpapasalamat ko sa Diyos. Napalibutan ako ng mga matatanda.
Right.
So I know what happened in my life, in the society. At the same time, they know what happened in the past.
Right.
So utilizing their experience in the past and my experience, together with our challenges, then you can craft or create some programs.
Maraming salamat. Thank you so much. Akala ko ano lang tayo.
Madaldal.
Alam mo na.